Hello and welcome. You're watching a special webinar on profitable strategies for active trading on Money Control Pro. I'm Sakshi Batra. Well, at the outset, I wish to thank all our Pro subscribers for making MC Pro a huge success right in its first year. We now have a family of over 3 lakh subscribers on MC Pro. So please do continue to share your feedback about MC Pro on Money Control Pro at nw18.com or through all of our support forums as well. Well, markets are trading at an all-time high, shrugging off all the pandemic blues. The festive spirits have been high and so have the hopes of a successful vaccine, leading to an economic recovery, which are all together driving the equities higher. And it is usually at this time when we see nervousness really creeping in about whether markets can go even higher from here or which stocks still have the potential to give good returns even at this peak. And which is why in today's webinar, I'm joined by Dr. C.K. Narayan, founder and CEO, Growth Avenues, to share key insights on how one should really approach the markets at these levels and also how to devise strategies that can help you garner great returns. Welcome, Mr. Narayan. Great to have you with us on Money Control Pro.
Thank you so much, Sakshi, for having me here. Hello to all the viewers and all the members of Money Control Pro. Let's go ahead and have a great session here. I'm going to enjoy presenting things to you, and I hope suitably you'll also have a good time being present here with me for the next 1 hour.
Absolutely. We are all ears and all eyes. Well, Dr. C.K. Narayan has been a long-term practitioner of technical analysis. That's over 40 years. And he has, over this time, developed several successful models for trading and investing using technical analysis. And over these past 40 years, he has very closely tracked the markets, looked at stockbroking. He's also headed institutional desk at ICICI Securities in the past. Now, currently, he runs his own firm, Growth Avenues, which caters to HNI and individual clients as well. And today, on this webinar, he will be sharing with us his thoughts on how to create such models, and also he will showcase in this webinar some important concepts that can really help traders to build their own portfolios and models as well. Well, with that, it's over to you, Dr. Narayan. Help us understand some key methods that you've been using for trading and investing.
Sure thing, Sakshi. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Well, folks, let's get into the matters, as it were. Profitable strategies for active trading. That is the topic that we are going to set forth upon. And of course, in any program, the first agenda is, of course, to set what are the things that we are going to set out to do. So on the screen for you, I have the 3 things that I'm going to be sharing with you, that I'm going to be talking to you about. These are 3 simple ways that one could approach the market for investing, for trading, and for analyzing, as well as for trading. So now if you look at the screen, one word jumps out at you, or should. That is the word simple. And I do believe that keeping everything simple is the key to success in the market. The human mind naturally likes to make things a little more complicated, and a lot of us believe that if things are too damn simple, then they don't really work. But in the market, it's completely to the contrary, that everything which is simplified down to a level where analyzing things and understanding the situation as it is leads to creation of simple approaches, which then leads to uncomplicated ways of trading and investing in the market. So that is exactly what we are going to do. I'm going to be presenting you with about 3 methods: one for investing, one for analyzing and trading using pivot points, and the third one will be for trading using momentum. Each of them should roughly last about 15 minutes. So that will give us about 45-50 minutes of material to be presented, at the end of which I think we will have a Q&A session where you should be able to ask whatever doubts, and I will endeavor my best to clear up any doubts which may have surfaced during the presentation. With that, let's jump right in. And the first of the methods that I'm going to present to you is a strategy that we call as rebound. Now, rebound is a very simple strategy that we have been using for a long time in our offices. It's something that I use almost on a daily basis, and I have found it to be a very simple, straightforward method using moving averages, and this is something that I will be sharing with you. Now, moving averages are something pretty straightforward. I think most people should be quite familiar with moving averages. Now, moving averages of prices are what we use in the markets, and we use typically closing data. This is some background for those who are not truly aware of what moving averages are. So I'll quickly run through them because most people should be aware. But nevertheless, different methods exist for computing moving averages. There is simple moving average, exponential moving average, weighted moving average, and a host of others. What we'll be using in today's presentation is exponential moving averages. They work on a simple principle of reversal to the mean. Now, what does reversal to the mean really indicate? It is that human behavior goes along a certain linear path, and every now and then we deviate from the path and we either get an excess of exuberance or we go into the depths of depression. So those are deviations from the norm, but by and large we are along the normal path, right? So these deviations from the path is what is non-normal, let's say. And then once things are made right, we come back to the norm. And that is what is reversal to the mean. Every single activity of human beings works on the principle of reversal to the mean. So prices which are actually created by people's activity, that should also have a reversal to the mean kind of behavior. And that is what moving averages exhibit. The moving average is the mean. Prices will move away from it, either above or below it, and then it will come back to it. So this is the quality we shall be using. Now, in a rising market, the averages will be lesser than the current market price because we are taking into calculation prices starting from today and going back n days. The n days is known as the length of the moving average. So because today's price in a rising market, today's price is more likely to be above the previous sets of days. So therefore, the average of the past n days compared to today's price will be below today's price. So in a rising market, the average value will be lesser. In a very similar fashion, in a falling market, the average value will be above the current prices. So this immediately gives us a very nice definition of how to look at prices vis-a-vis the moving average, which I said is the mean. And therefore, these moving averages, when they are read in terms with the prices, will give us two things which are cornerstone of technical analysis. One, which is support, and moving averages will act as support in a rise. And second is a resistance, because moving averages will act as a resistance during declining markets. Now, periodically, there will be what is known as a crossover. A crossover of a moving average by the price is actually the current prices taking on a certain amount of acceleration, either to the upside or the downside. That is now enabling it to go past the average of the past n days. So whenever there is a crossover, there is a signal which is generated, and typically we take that as a buy or a sell signal. When prices cut from beneath the moving average above, that is taken as a buy signal, and vice versa, when they cut down from being above the prices, that's taken as a sell signal. And typically the number of days that is used to calculate the moving average is known as the length of the moving average. So you have typical lengths like a 10-day average, 20-period average, 30-period average, or a 200-day moving average, 50-day moving average. Various kinds of numbers are used, and there are logic for using various kinds of numbers. Since this is not a primer on moving averages, we shall just confine ourselves to the basic points. The main use of the moving average is to define the current trend as well as to spot the trend reversal, because in trading and in investing, what we really need to know are these two things. What is the current trend and where is it changing? Because in change lies profit-making opportunities. If there is no change, where is the chance to profit? So we have to be able to spot the change. Now, just like you can use one moving averages, you can use multiple moving averages. Typically, two moving averages are used. There are people who use more, but I think two are more than adequate to do the good job. When two moving averages are used, the longer period moving average is used for judging the trend, while the shorter period moving average is used to generate the trend signal. This is the method that we shall be using today. And crossover of the short-term average over the long-term average is taken as a kind of a confirmation of the change. And the beauty about moving averages is that it is something which can be used across all the time frames. Now, for those who are a little bit technically oriented, they know that technical analysis can be done across all time frames, starting from very, very small time units like 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, and going all the way up to the day, the week, the month, the quarter, or even the year, etc. So you can use the same principle with moving averages across all of them, right? So when you look at a moving average, this is how it looks on the chart. Now this is chart with two moving averages on it. And there are a couple of arrows that are marked, which you can see clearly on this chart. And the left arrow, the moving averages, the price is above the moving average, that is the crossover. If you notice, prices were under and then they have crossed over. So that's the point of the crossover. It so happens that the shorter term moving average, the line in blue compared to the line in a little bit of purplish color, that is the longer term moving average. That is also crossed above. So the crossover of the moving averages by themselves is taken as a confirmation. The price crossover over the moving average is taken as the primary signal. So to the left side arrow, that points to a buy signal which has been generated, and to the right side, what you have is a sell signal which has been generated. And this is essentially what we want. What is the state of the market and where is the signal indicating a change in the status, right? So this is how we'll be looking at it. So let's quickly go and see what are the rules that we can create for the strategy which I call a rebound. A rebound is the word I'm using because the prices keep rebounding from the moving average on both the sides, right? So, okay, we use two exponential moving averages. So if you use a software, all you got to do is set it to a moving average tool and choose exponential as the type of moving average, and then set the period. The periods are 10 period and 30 period, right? And these can be used. This method can be used. That's all. You've got only two things to choose. One, moving average as a tool, set it to the selection of exponential, and then choose the periods of two moving averages as being 10 period and 30 period. These are the two, right? Now, what do we do with this? We can use this on different time frames. So the best time frames that I've found for working with this is the 60-minute chart, followed by the daily chart and the weekly chart, right? Now, this method works exceedingly well on these three time frames. That does not mean that it does not work on lower time frames than 60 minutes. It does very well indeed. But then what really happens is that the number of trades become much larger, much more numerous, and as a result of which the profitability tends to fall. The profitability is extremely good in the weekly time frame, wherein you get a very, very large, kind of percentage gain, and the trades are also small. But the daily time frame has a very, very high hit ratio. If I take the last, let's say, about 6 months, I would say the statistics would point to about 81% accuracy, right? On the 60-minute chart, of course, the trades are a little more, but even here, you have, I would believe, something close to 56 to 60% accuracy for this method. So depending upon how many trades you want, you'll have to either choose 60 daily or weekly. If you don't want trades too many, you just want them once in a while, weekly is the time frame, right? Otherwise, you want lots of them, 60 minutes is the time frame. Okay, now let's go into the rule set, as it were. When the prices are in a trend, okay, when the prices are in a trend, that is the stock is above the moving average already. The 10 moving average will be above the 30 period moving average. This I have already discussed, that the moving average will be below the price. The longer the period, the moving average, that will be set a little further away from the price. So the 10 being shorter time period compared to the 30, the 10 will be above the 30 and the price will be above the 10 period moving average. Now, what do we do here? We have this as a situation which tells us that the market is in an uptrend. Now, what we want to do is buy a dip in the market, right? And how do we define a dip? We define a dip that we wait for a pullback in the prices. And how do we define that? We wait for the prices to pull back between the 10 period moving average and 30 period moving average. I shall show you this on a chart so that it becomes even more clear, but it is quite easy for you to imagine. There's the prices which are going up, and then there is 10 period moving average below that and a 30 period moving average below that. Prices take a dip, come in between the two moving averages. This is the setup, right? Then the buy signal So you first have a setup and then you have a signal, which is your trade signal. The buy signal will be when the prices will rise once again above the 10-period moving average. So what has really happened here? The market or the stock is in a trend. The trend halts for a brief period of time, undergoes a reaction. The reaction comes down to a level. Where does it come? Between the 10 and the 30. Remember I said that the longer period moving average is the definer of the trend. So long as the prices stay above the 30-period moving average, the uptrend is intact. The 10-period tracks the shorter term. So when the trend resumes after a pullback, it will again cut above the 10-period moving average once again. And that's how the signal is generated. Now the stop loss on this, because everybody needs to work with the stop loss and they rightly should, the stop loss will be for a close below the 30-period moving average. And why is the stop loss kept there? Because if the prices go below the 30-period moving average, then the trend is no longer deemed to be up. Right? The same thing applies on the downside also. Right? Exactly what I said will be in reverse. When the prices are down, 10 will be there, 30 will be above, prices will rally in between 10 and 30, and then they'll start dipping again and go below the 10. Right? Now that's a whole lot of words. Now let's just go and take a look at how they will look on a chart. On this chart, now you look at the chart and it should become pretty clear. To the left side is a circled position. Now in the circle position, note that the prices are now slowly starting to climb above the moving average. So this is the start of a trend. And then the trend takes hold and the prices start moving up. And they have been moving up nicely, as has been indicated by that blue line, which is drawn to the prices. So the trend progresses and the moving averages widen from one another. That is, the 10 period stretches away from the from the 30 period. Then you have a reaction time when the market pulls back. In the middle of the chart, you see there is a prices pulling back and the prices come down all the way to the level of the 30 period moving average, falling in between the 10 and the 30. Then a few bars later, if you look at it, this is on the weekly chart, so each bar represents a week. A few bars later, a couple of weeks later, the prices start again. And that is where I marked it as trend resumption. And once a trend resumption occurs, that is when prices close above the 10 period again, that is the time you will buy. So when you buy, it will actually come here. I've just placed the mouse arrow here. So this is the candle where the prices go above the 10 period, right? And then that's where your buy signal comes. And then it takes a couple of weeks more, but doesn't really go down. Test the supports, test the resolve of the bulls, and then it takes off straight for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And it's about an 18% return which comes across after you get your signal. Across the next 6 weeks, you get a return of about 18%, where you just do nothing but hold on to your position. And wherever you want to exit, you can probably take it during this period. The 13-period moving average was far away, so your stop loss was never threatened. And you got a clean entry, you got a nice move, although it hesitated a couple of times, but then a very, very decent return in a short period of time. And then it comes back. And now if you look at it currently, right, these are updated charts up to most recent times, yesterday or day before. Now the prices have once again come down to the level of the 30 period and between the 10 and the 30. So this stock, this is Shriram Transport Finance. And this stock has once again pulled back. Now this is your 30 period moving average and stocks are staying above it comfortably. Here there is a poke, but there is no close. If you recall, the stop loss was for a close below the 30 period moving average. So now if you look at it on the last bar, there is again a poke above the 10 period. And then the prices should start moving up again. So this is how you will track this moving average pullback as a kind of method. I'm sure it's a fairly simple, straightforward method. I'll show you a couple of more examples on different time frames so that this whole idea gets, clearly entrenched. It's a very simple approach, but I assure you it's an extremely effective approach, and I use this fairly extensively in my own personal trading as well. Now, if you do it on the weekly chart, that is something you can use for investment. So I'm talking there in the earlier case about a holding of 6 weeks, which gave you about 18-20%. Now, this is the same rebound strategy used on the daily charts, right? On the daily charts, if you see, I've marked it by numbers 1, 2, 3, and onwards till about 8. And here I have given you, number 1 is the onset of the trend, right? Here is the onset of the trend, which you can see here. And then after that, if you notice, the 30-period moving average has not been broken at all. This is Mahindra and Mahindra, right? And this came somewhere around May of this year, right? And from May till about September, the trend remained completely intact. And now you see how many buy signals you got, right? The whole idea of trading and making more money out of the same stock rather than jumping from one stock to another is to have a system, is to have an approach which can tell you that the trend is still intact, A, and B, when is the time to participate in the trend afresh. Now, this rebound strategy does both of them very, very well. So it told you at number 1 that the trend is on. It told you in the pullback at number 2, and it did not break and close below the 30 period. So it said, this is a pullback where you need to get alert. 2 days later at point 3, it gives you a buy signal. I trust everybody is able to see this and follow my commentary on this particular chart. At 3, you have a buy signal which is very clear and unambiguous. So I don't think there's any way that you'll miss it except if you have a self-doubt or you question the basic method. But assuming that those two things are not in the situation, then at 3 you'll have a buy, you will have a nice ride for several days together. You can check out at any point of time during this trend, knowing that another pullback will come. That pullback comes dutifully at the level 4. It just comes down, touches briefly, goes between the two, and then pulls back right away. So you're off to the races again. So you got a signal here sometime in late May, and then you got a signal again around the middle of June, and that did not really give you too much money, but it did not really trouble you very much either. So after going sideways for a while, so the trade at point number 4 might not have been too profitable, but it never troubled you in terms of giving you a stop loss hit, etc. But again at 5, there is a pullback within the 2 moving averages. That is the critical thing you got to watch for, okay? And then at number 5, it starts off again. And now at 5, it starts giving you some money, goes to sideways, finishes another pullback where these shadows, you can see that it enters again. Maybe you'll buy 5 and maybe you'll not buy 6, or maybe you missed 5, you can buy again at 6. The beauty of this system is that so long as the trend is intact, you will never miss buy signals. You will never fail to have an opportunity to get into the trend, as it were. Most of the time, we are all able to buy stocks at an initiating phase or once in its run. But then we take that money off and then we don't get a chance to enter it, because every time we feel, "Arey, ye bahut bhag gaya, this is too far, now it is too risky." And these are the kind of stories we keep telling ourselves, and then we miss out on a huge move, right? But by using the rebound strategy, you will not miss out on the big trends anytime, right? So at 6, you had another buy signal. It goes up very, slowly but very steadily. Mahindra is not a tiger stock of the market which zooms. It goes this way only most of the time. Then it consolidates once again, dips below here where I marked point number 7, gets up again, and then gets into it. So you could either take 8 to be here or here. And as of this September, there was another fresh buy signal. So what I'm trying to show you here is that across a period of June, July, August, right, you had several buy signals and you did not miss out the potential that Mahindra showed you, because Mahindra came into a trend at about 375 to 400. Please note this price. One is at about 375 to 400. And by the time we reached into this level by middle of September, or the start of September rather, your prices are at about 650 to 625 to 650. That's like a huge move, right? And typically traders tend to take 5 rupees in Mahindra, 10 rupees in Mahindra, and they feel very happy about it. But here was Mahindra willing to give you 200, 250 rupees of profit. Now, I'm not saying you're going to grab the entire 250, but why not grab 100 rupees out of that? Will that not make you feel good? And it's a very, very simple approach, right? So this is on the daily charts, and I trust now the method is a little more clearer. One more example, and this is on the 60-minute chart, right? This is an intraday, the same thing on an intraday chart using the hourly time frame, and exactly the same thing. This is the chart of Kotak Mahindra Bank, right? And you can see exactly the same thing. There are two moving averages, 10 period, 30 period. And you have to the left side, you can now see prices crossing over the two moving averages, setting off an uptrend. Now the uptrend pulls back where I have the first blue arrow marked. You have to wait for the pullback, right? So you need to exercise that patience. This is not something where you jump into a trade as soon as you see it. That's always not the correct way to trade. So you wait for the pullback, and the pullback comes dutifully every now and then. On this chart, you can actually see there have been three buy signals. And the first buy signal came in somewhere around 1520 to 1550. And then that moved along rather nicely, moved up for about 100, 150 odd rupees. The second buy signal comes between 1600 to 1640. Then the third buy signals comes somewhere around 1700, 1750, and the stock has now gone to about 1840, 1850. So once again, even if you use the 60-minute chart, you can capture on a stock like Kotak Mahindra an entire move which started from somewhere near 1500 and went all the way till about 1800, 1850. So this is the kind of play that most people like to make. Not too many people want to go in and out. For those who like to go in and out, I have more, more stuff coming up at the back. But this is the strategy that I would like you to take a look at. And I've shown you three examples of an uptrend, but it works exactly the same way in a downtrend also. So here is rebound method in a downtrend. So similar thing here, except that all the arrows are facing downward. The prices are going down. The prices are breaking below. If you see to the top left-hand side of the chart, you see that the prices are breaking down out here below the moving average. This is the onset of a downtrend. Prices go down, then they pull back. And once they pull back, you get a series of sell signals. Wherever I have marked the arrows, so if you look at this, Larsen and Toubro, and this is also a 60-minute chart. That is why you get so many more trades. But H2 is on. If you don't like so many trades, go switch over to the daily. If you like them even less, switch over to the weekly. But you'll be able to apply it in exact same way on every chart. So this is a very, very simple, very direct way of trading if you use the lower time frames, investing if you use the daily and the weekly charts. So summing up here, the rebound method works in trended stock because moving averages are a trend following instrument. They are a trend following tool. So the market has to be in a trend, right? It has to be in a trend either up or down. If a market is moving sideways, moving averages will not work. Almost nothing will work in a sideways market. But not to worry, we have something for sideways markets also. So I'm not going to leave you high and dry when it comes to sideways markets either. But now, the rebound market works in trended stocks, so you got to be careful that you use them in trended stock. That is why I said wait for the prices to break the moving average, get into a trend, then wait for a pullback. Once the stock gets into a trend, we need to be with the trend, and that's how you make most amount of money. And also get into the trend as it keeps reviving afresh. And that way you will be able to extract all the juice which that particular stock is able to give you. The pullback approach is one of the best and the easiest ways to achieve this. It works best on larger time frames, hourly and better. Again, like I said, that does not mean it does not work on 30 or 15-minute charts, but I would suggest that when you start using this, start with the daily. It works brilliantly on the daily time frame charts. Since it's a trend following methods, exits have to be discretionary because trend following methods do not have built-in exits. So you need to decide where you want to take your money, whether it is 1% or 10 or 20 or 1 day, 2 day, whatever. You have to decide on where you want to exit. but I guarantee you any stock which is in a trend will give you a few percentage points, and that ought to be good enough for any kind of trader, right? So this was the first method, rebound, very simple, very direct. Now the second method that we are moving on to, if you have questions on this, just note it down. We shall take them towards the end of the session. Otherwise, we'll run short of time. The second strategy is something that I'm calling as a climb. Not much of a name, but it kind of conveys what the strategy does. Climb is when you use pivot points. Now, what are pivot points? They are price pivots are mathematically generated mean for the traded price. So typically a pivot is high plus low plus close divided by 3. That gives you a kind of a mean price. Then what you do is then you expand this mean price by adding certain multiples to it. And therefore you get several layers of prices which are greater than the mean price and several layers of prices which are lesser than the mean price. And these are then used as support and resistance levels. Everything in technical analysis will keep coming back into support and resistance because that is the bulwark of the whole subject, right? That is what everything stands on. Prices are perennially moving from areas of support into areas of resistance and vice versa. This is how prices move for perpetuity. Now the advantage in pivot is that it can be calculated in advance, giving you the benefit of forecasting the next day's probable price action, right? So you can have a forecast for the next day's probable range of the prices and how they will move. Now pivot uses previous day's prices to create outer limits for price excursions, like I said, on both upside and downside, which will then act as support and resistance level. Now, this will give you certain levels, but it also helps you to understand the mindset that is at work in the market, irrespective of whatever development. You see, market is a collection of mindset, and the primary among them is your own mindset. Now, your mindset is going to be governed by, or it's going to be a function of all the developments that are happening around you, which could be personal or which could be extra you in terms of whatever is happening in the markets, in the economy, in the country, etc., etc. But then the mindset of the market gets captured through the pivots, and I'll explain to you how this happens. But many of you might be familiar with pivots, and typically this is how you will see it on various websites and newsletters and everywhere else. It's a very standard, very easily available item. So you'll have absolutely no difficulty in creating pivots. You have this as a part of technical analysis software. Even if you don't have a TA software, pivot calculators are available by the dozens on the net, all of them free. Okay, so no difficulty in getting hold of the pivots. Now, typically there is a pivot point in the middle, which is the mean, which I said is high plus low plus close divided by 3. And then you have support levels, 3 of them, and resistance level 3. You can of course go up to 6 or 10 also if you want, but typically R1, R2, R3 representing 3 resistances, S1, 2, 3 representing 3 supports. These are devised by certain calculations. Now there are multiple ways of calculating this. I will not be going into those details, but what I will tell you is that we will be using something called Fibonacci pivots. So now many of you might have heard about the Fibonacci series and the Fibonacci ratio. So what we will use is the Fibonacci ratio, multiply that with a range and add it to the pivots and subtract it from the pivots. And then we will arrive at what is called as R1, R2, R3, 3 resistances, S1, S2, S3, 3 supports, right? And they will be plotted. When they plotted on the chart, this is how it will look. So prices are there, and on top of it will be superimposed the pivots. So you will have various zones which are the price zones, and that is where the key is really thing. So now let me take you through how we are actually going to read all this, right? So you got all these zones here, R1, R2, R3, and then you have the zones here, S1, S2, and S3. So these are the zones into which the day gets divided, and we will be using these zones to come up with our reading of the market and to structure our trading tactic, right? So it should be fairly simple. Now here are the details. Now if you look at it, it's based on the crossing of the various levels of these pivot points. Crossing of the pivot, the R1, R2, R3, S1, S2, S3. Now the pivot levels are placed one on top of the other like a ladder, right? So that is why the name climb. You either climb up a ladder or you climb down the ladder. If you think of them as stairs, they are climbing up the stairs of resistance, climbing down into the stairs of support. So that is why I have named this as a climb strategy. Now there are three levels on either side. There can be multiple relationships which are possible based on the price positioning. Vis-a-vis these levels, we can understand the state of the market, and I'll quickly take you through these states of the market. And based on these states, we can take the trades. Now, since these levels are all price points, they all can act as individual stops and targets at various levels, and I will make mentions about that also as we go along. Now, let's take the first possible situation. That is, you have the prices which go between the pivot level and the resistance level 1 or the support level 1. So as you can see, the prices are lying between the pivot and the support and resistance level 1, first levels of support. When prices cannot exceed the first level of support or the first level of resistance, then it is actually a neutral kind of day, right? On a neutral day, we should also stay neutral. It's not a day where we can profit. So straight away, starting tomorrow, if you were to impose pivot levels on your price action, or you just note it down and say that price X is R1 and price Y is S1. So if the prices tomorrow are lying between X and Y, then you know it's a very neutral movement in that stock, and it is not going to offer you much by way of profitability. So P to R1, P to S1 is a very neutral zone and does not call for trading. Now, how we can trade it here is P to R1, P to S1, that is prices largely lying between S1 and R1, means that the market is sideways. These are the stocks where if the pivot zones, the S1 and R1 are little bit wide enough, then you can actually play this through using options. These are the stocks where you can probably do a short strangle. For the short strangle, you can use the call at R1, a strike level which is close to R1, and a strike level of the put which should be close to S1. Now you can short the strangle, keep a stop loss above R1 or keep a stop loss below S1, or keep a stop loss of a combined premium that you get, and you keep a combined premium stop loss. Let's say you manage to get let's say 10 points as your combined premium for the short strangle. I hope people know what is a short strangle. We don't have time to go into details of that, otherwise we'll be here the whole evening. So if you get 10 rupees for a short strangle, you can keep let's say a 3, 4, 5 rupees stop loss. So if the strangle price becomes 13, 14, 15 rupees, you just take off the trade. Equally, when the strangle price falls down to about 6 or 5 or 4 rupees, you can take that strangle off and book your profit, right? So the neutral zone can also be traded by looking at the pivot. The only requirement here is that S1 and R1 should be sufficiently wide so that you can get a decent amount of premium and also enjoy a little amount of safety, right? So that is the first situation. The second situation is which is called as a down day. A down day is one when the market makes limited movement to the to the top side. Now limited movements, that is meant by that it cannot go above the level of R1. That is the first level of resistance. So when prices don't go above R1, then the likelihood is that the prices will turn down and come lower. And how far will they come? Typically, they will go towards the second level of support. Of course, in that journey, as I have marked, there are small blue arrows which you can see here. When the prices do not go above R1, in this case, this is Titan Futures taken for the 18th, and that is 2 days ago. Prices opened in and around R1 and started going down. So when R1 starts to be the resistance right off the open, you can think that this is going to be a down day for Titan. And Titan first breaks the pivot, then it goes down, it breaks S1, and then it goes all the way down to S2 and even slightly beyond it. So typically a stock which does not cross R1 is likely to drop down till S2. Please note that all these are not cast in stone kind of stuff. These are general observations, and this is how stocks will move most of the time, right? There will be exceptions, and for that is why you'll have the stop losses. So this is a down day. So in a down day, what do you do? How do you action a down day? You can action it two ways. If you're inclined to short, you stop with a stop loss above R1, right? You can short it with a stop loss above R1. You can have several layers of targets. Your target can be the pivot or S1 or S2. You can look at all these as your targets. You look at how far they are and look at what can be the volatility of the stock. Now, Titan is a nicely moving stock, so it can move, and it probably does move from R1 down to S2 and all that kind of stuff. So depending upon the normal volatility of the stock, you can take a judgment as to how far that stock will move. But R1 down to S2 is what you got to remember. That's a down day, right? So I've told you how to action a down day, how to identify a down day. If prices start a little down and crash past R1, then you know that it's no longer a down day and you should take off the trade. So if you short, your stop loss will be above R1. How much above R1? That's for you to decide, right? You can even set it at R2 if you can afford it. But stops are personal things, right? So let's move on to the next one. It'll be the reverse of what we talked about earlier. What will be an up day? An up day will be when the prices come down or not able to break the first level of support. So that is S1. When prices start and come down to the level of S1, not able to break it. So if you look at the initial portion of this is Nifty Index Future of 18th, right? This is Nifty trading. So for a good portion, that is after the start till about 12:15, as you can see here, it remained between R1 and S1. So what did we say is R1, S1? R1, S1 is a neutral day. Now what does it do? It doesn't go below S1, and then it starts moving up above the pivot. So it starts giving you, and look at the nice broad strong candle that it does. This is a 30-minute chart, so it's a nice 30-minute strong candle, and then it starts moving up further. So you get a reasonably good idea that maybe an uptrend is being launched, and that gets confirmed when it goes above R1, right? So once it starts heading above R1, then you know it did not break S1. The minimum target is R2, and in this case, it kind of kept moving and reached all the way till R3 too. So if you had spotted this, maybe you would have bought it when it went above this, but certainly you should buy it when it starts going above R1. So if you had bought it here, this would have been worth at least about 50 to 70 points on the Nifty, which I think for a day's work is something fantastic, right? So S1 to R2 is an up day. So you have the normal day, that is the range bound day, a down day, and an up day. Now let's take a trended up day. A trended up day will be when the prices don't go anywhere near S, right? It stays above the pivot. It begins above the pivot, it begins at the pivot and stays above it and starts moving quickly above R1. So if the prices are greater than pivot and then progresses to move above R1, then you're in good hands, because now you have gone into a bullish and it's going to be a trended up day. And then it starts going up. This is Jubilant FoodWorks, and look at this nice move in Jubilant FoodWorks. So when you go above P, then the chances are you'll reach up to R3. So when you have P to R1 and it's a trended up day, chances are that you will go up to the third level. So you see the beauty of this. You know what the market is saying. You know where the action points are. You know where the likely price targets are. So all these information when you have, then your trading becomes so much easier, right? So this is a trended up day, And in a very similar fashion will be the next one, which will be your trended down day, where you're below P, right? You start the day below pivot and it doesn't go above the pivot, and then it starts dropping down. This is, I've just chosen NOSIL here to show that this method will work in cash stocks, it will work on future stocks, it will work on index, it will work on anything, right? So you don't have to be particularly trading only futures, and this works on an intraday basis like a charm. Got to just be a little careful to select the stock to see that, and be wary about which levels are being held and which are being broken. So P not crossing pivot, so a little bit of weakness, comes down, S1 holds, rallies back, again doesn't break the pivot, breaks down S1, so you know immediately it's going to go down to S2. If the area between S1 and S2 is sufficient enough, then you know that this is a stock which can be sold. And then the stock goes even lower, goes all the way till about S3 even. So this is a downtrended stock, right? So we covered normal day, range day, normal up day, normal down day, trended up day, trended down day, right? So this is the way that you can use pivots. Now just one more additional point. When you have a trade on and the prices fall down to the third level of support, that is S3, it's always a good idea to cover your shorts and take the money off the table. The level 3 is always a good point to take your money off the table. If you may have entered using any method, etc., and if you put on the pivots and you find that the prices are now reaching up into the third level, support level 3 or resistance level 3, you should exit your trades. That's a good position to take some money off the table. So I trust this was clear. These are various ways that you can use the pivot. So what I've shown you here is the logic of pivots and the way that pivots can be used to find out how, you know, how the things will move, and which are the rules that you can look at all of these. And there are the rules: pivot to R1 or pivot to S1, that is neutral. Either stay away or you can use options if you know how to. The standard move is for some range trading, S1 to R2 or R1 down to S2. Many stocks will be exhibiting this type of move every day, and this range is tradable, right? And breakout trading is when it is above R1 and below S1. The only caveat here is that you got to look at whether the pivot level was held. And the target zone, I just mentioned to you, book profits at S3 or R3 from the pivot. On a strong trended day, the stock index will steadily climb to reach these levels. So I trust the climb strategy was something which is now clear to all of you. I think we can move on, therefore, now to was it not very clear? Perhaps I had to put up all this. So now it should be clear how all this is just summing up of whatever I had said earlier, right? So here is where we go. And then now we come to the third strategy. It's called SWIFT. And it's named SWIFT because it is based on momentum. And momentum is another aspect of technical analysis where we measure the speed or velocity of the price. And because the stock alone is not enough, it's only when momentum is being accompanied with the prices that you will find that there is movement. Momentum always precedes movement, and any stock where you impart some momentum to it, you will be able to see that it kind of validates a trend and tells you how strong it is, and it will keep the prices moving in the same sort of direction. So the focus in this method is not in finding tops and bottoms, but is to get a quick move which happens in the markets. All right. So that is why the strategy is actually called SWIFT, and for this we use an indicator called RSI. I think most people who are familiar with technicals will be aware of what is the RSI, Relative Strength Index. It's a measure of how many days up and how many days down, and the quantum of moves up and down creates a ratio of gains and losses, and then does a lot of formula to give us what is known as relative strength, and then normalizes this relative strength to lie in a value between 0 to 100. Now within that, we take it that there is RSI or momentum acceleration if there is a move above 60 or fall below 40. So we use this acceleration factor as the input for our method. It's really very, very simple. For more, information about RSI and momentum, I think one should read or watch some YouTube videos or take some courses, etc. So here is RSI momentum acceleration, and it's a fast moving intraday trading method. For those who like to trade quickly and trade a lot of stuff, this is a signal which will keep showing up every now and then. The time frame that I use for this method is about 30 minutes. So I use it on the 30-minute charts. So here is a chart showing you price, right? And the rise begins from this bottom. Here is a high, a sideways consolidation, and then it takes off. So here is RSI plotted at the bottom. And the zone that is marked here is between 60 and 40. So above 60, we are taking as being the acceleration phase. So you see here, as soon as the prices gap up and start an uptrend, the RSI here has gone above 60. So the point where it goes above 60 is the hint of acceleration setting into the stock, as it were, as signaled by the momentum indicator. Then you have the stock going sideways where the momentum drifts off a bit but doesn't go and break 40. That's the key. It should not go down. And then when the trend picks up again, it picks up the momentum again. So this is how it is on the top side, and it will be similarly so for the bottom side. So here is a stock which is slowly keeling over, right? And then it drops, and this is where the momentum, the fall accelerates from here. So that is where the momentum also accelerates. And if you see here, the momentum has actually broken the level of 40. And when it breaks through 40 level, it's telling you that there is going to be downward acceleration, and those are our two buy and sell signals, right? So this is how we set it up. And therefore, let's now come to the rules for the Swift trading strategy. So here they are on your screen. Wait for the stock to show a move past 60 RSI to buy. So you have your RSI, you have it zoned between 60 and 40. Then you're waiting for price action which propels the RSI above 60. Buy the next bar open. So you got to wait for this 30-minute candle to finish, and on the opening of the next candle, the next 30 minutes. So let's say the signal comes at 9:45, you will buy probably at 9:46 or thereabout, the next bar open. So similarly, on the downside, wait for stock to show a move below 40, and then to sell, you will sell the next bar open, right? So you wait for the candle to finish, because RSI is calculated on the close of that particular candle. So the 30-minute candle has to close. Do not jump the gun. Then you will run a risk of getting smacked on your face. Okay? So you have to wait for that candle to complete and then buy or sell at the opening of the next bar. Now here is the stop loss. If that signal gets invalidated within 2 bars, that there is a breakup above 60 and then it quickly fritters away, then you exit the trade. So this is a fast in and out trading. So you will not be risking too much money in terms of the stop loss, but you will get these fast-paced moves. And if you accumulate several of them, it becomes a very, very good day trading method. It becomes a nice way to accumulate a series of profits. And this is for a very active trader. It's not for somebody who's laid back and likes to trade at a leisurely pace. This is not a method for them. But we'll have all sorts of people on this particular webinar. So I've chosen 3 different types of methods which can cater to everybody. Target here is discretionary. All I'll say is that typically any move in a fast-paced market lasts about 5 bars. So after the onset of your trade, the 3rd bar, 4th bar, or the 5th bar, that is another 1.5 hours. Within another 1.5 to 2 hours, you should close out this trade. So when I'm saying that another 2 hours, within 2 hours, you should close out the trade, because we are taking 30-minute candles. That is why I'm saying 2 hours. Means that you cannot take this trade towards the end of the day. If you get the signal, let's say around 2:30 or 2:45 or 3 o'clock, then this cannot be a good intraday trading method. This is a method to be used in the earlier part of the day. So if you get a signal, let's say at 10 o'clock, then you have several hours left for the market to finish. But if you get the signal at 2:30 or 2:45, then the market closure is at hand. And then you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So it's better to take these signals only till about, let's say, 1 o'clock or 1:30. 1:30 should be the outside time because it still leaves you with about 2 hours, right? I hope that should be clear. It is self-evident, but this is what is the key thing, right? So the thing is very, very simple. Like I said here, wait for the stock to show move past 60 or wait for the stock to show move past 40. You got to wait for that bar to complete, buy the next bar open or sell the next bar open. Within the 2 bars, if this signal is negated, you exit the trade. Target is discretionary, but you typically keep about 3 to 5 bars after you have taken a trade. If it doesn't move in about 3 hours of, 3 bars, 4 bars, then it's better to exit the trade. We are playing momentum. We are playing fast pace here. That is why the strategy is called Swift. And if it finishes off in that, then you take your money and you run. So for those who may not be still clear, here is a chart. This is the downside movement. This is the acceleration down. It breaks 40 here, and then you're going down from there. The prices are all down from there, right? So if you had shorted this somewhere around 1080, by the end of the day, the stock had traded down to about 1017. So that's a decent amount of money that you could make, okay? This is the 30-minute chart. So this is an intraday chart. This is a trade for the buy side, for the sell side, and similar thing for the buy side, which I had shown you earlier. This sets up the trade, the thing goes up, but in a couple of bars, this gets invalidated. So you took a trade here and you exited it somewhere here because the other side fell off. Then after a while, the prices don't go down, it starts up again, signals you afresh out here, and then you take the trade here again. So maybe here you might have lost, let's say 2, 3, 4 rupees, but then you take the trade here at about 312, and then it runs off by the, towards the end of the day, it's at about 325, 27. That's a decent amount of money to make on a day trade, right? You could have exited, like I said, 3 to 4 bars from here. So you see 1, 2, and 3. In 3 bars itself, it reached about 327. So that's why I said, typically this is how markets move. So you should know a little bit about price action. Now all these can be learned in maybe technical analysis programs, but this is a fast recoup for you for all the things. So with that, I come to a conclusion of the 3 methods. What have we seen today? A method for short-term investing, a method for day trading of any kind, and a fast-paced breakout method. And these are the various sets of methods that I've shown you. And I would say that each method has stops built into it, which certainly needs to be followed, right? Targets are discretionary, and following the rules is a must, right? So without following the rules, you're going to end up in some trouble. So I've given you the rules, I've given you the stops, I've told you how to take the profits off the table, I've given you how to read the markets, and with that we come to an end. And over to you, Sakshi. If you have any questions for me, I'm most happy to answer.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Dr. Narayan, for sharing with us all these key and interesting methods and helping our viewers understand how these methods can really work for them for short term and for long term as well. With that, let's move on to the Q&A session. We are getting a whole lot of questions from our audiences. But my first question to you would be, before I start taking all the audience questions, is to understand as to how important is the role of technicals, especially at a time when markets are really gunning for record highs on a daily basis. And the 3 methods that you've talked about today, which are the strategies out of all these that will work very well when markets are at peak?
Well, you see, when you're looking at day, then days movement or a couple of days or even let's say a week or essentially the very short term, then technicals are the only way to go because fundamental information is not available in this kind of time frame. Variables do not change at that kind of pace that you can take action on them. And see, you do not have access to all these things. So technicals are the only way to deal with the shorter term. And whether the market is at a peak or a trough, it really doesn't matter because the technicals will work in quite the same manner. Now, to answer the question which you said about which of these three should we pick, I have presented the three, keeping in mind the various types of players that we have. There are some people who like to invest, so they can go for the first of the methods, take the daily chart or the weekly chart, and they will, they'll get their fill. And I guarantee you that the results will also be extremely palatable. For those who like to, play a little longer or faster or shorter, the pivot method will work for both the types of people. Now, I showed you example of intraday charts. So that was a methodology, but you can take the same framework and then instead of using the daily pivot, you can use the weekly pivot. So you take the weekly prices and create pivots out of it. You take the monthly prices and create monthly pivots out of it. The principle is the same. The way you put the framework on the prices is the same, except that the prices, you're looking at it over a longer period of time. So using the pivot, you can use it, whichever type of player you are. It works brilliantly for all of them, intraday players, multi-day players, investors, for everybody it will work. It's also a very good way of defining the market so that at one glance you know whether the market is making it or it's breaking it or about to break it or about to make it. All these are critical informations for increasing the odds of success. Now when you come to the third method which I have described, that is typically an intraday method. So it is to be used by an intraday player. Now momentum-based strategies are difficult to use over a longer period of time because of a simple fact that momentum does not sustain for a long period of time. Momentum works in jerks. It's like this. If you're driving a car and you press the pedal, that is what gives the car the momentum, right? But you don't keep your the pedal pressed forever. You move it up and down, up and down. You go to 60, you come down to 20, and the speed of the car keeps varying. Why does it vary? Because of traffic, because of your own restrictions, your capabilities to do, and so many reasons. In exactly the same way, momentum of prices also works in bursts. So we are trying to take advantage of the bursts, and since these bursts do not last for a long period of time, this is best worked on intraday charts, and they are meant for day traders.
All right, I got your point over there. Let's begin taking all the audience questions. The first question that we have is from Govind Yimul. He wants to know trading strategies are based on momentum and technical charts. While we can observe the movement, what should and who is not conversant with technical analysis do actually?
Well, it is like this, Govind, that if you're interested in trading, you had better learn technical analysis. There's no way that you can do trading without knowing technicals. Now, you can do long-term investing without even knowing fundamentals or technicals because the effect of longer term, the time will do it for you, the market will do it for you, the trend will do it for you. But when it comes to trading, it is you who has to do everything by yourself, right? The market is actually something to be won over. So if you're going to be serious about trading, then technical analysis learning is a must. There are many, many, many people in the city, whichever city you may be. There are many people who are teaching you technical analysis. There's a whole lot of stuff available on YouTube. My company does a lot of training. I have junior trainers. I used to do a whole lot of training, but I'm kind of semi-retired from all that. And I have my nephew who's now taken up the mantle from me, and he's the one handling all training at ChartAdvice. So if it interests you, you can take a look at our website, take the extensive training programs that we have. We have both recorded and live ones. So there are other people also, like I said. If you're going to look for training material in YouTube, then you should be a little wary because along with some good stuff, there is also a whole lot of crap out there. So you should be a little bit wary about what you see because you may end up learning the wrong way and that might be more detrimental for you in the longer run. So if you're going to learn, do it in a structured way. But without learning technicals, I would not advise that you become an active trader. You can be a casual hobbyist trader, and you're not really looking to make money out of it. You're just out there to have a good time.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Govind. Okay, Radhakrishnan has asked us the next question. He wants to know what will be the success rate in technical analysis?
See, success rate in any analysis or any activity is dependent upon how well you do it, right? I can give you knowledge. I can gather knowledge. You can read books. You can attend seminar, everything. They'll all give you first information. Second, when you think about it, I'll convert into knowledge. But knowledge by itself is not going to give you success. Success comes from proper implementation. And implementation, the biggest variable is you. It's not about technical analysis. It's not about fundamental analysis. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala can give you a tip and Mukesh Ambani can tell you to buy Reliance. But you will still not end up making money. I guarantee you that. Because it's how you implement it that decides all the things. In the rebound technique, I mentioned along the way that if you use it on the daily chart, you have a hit ratio as high as 81%. Now, 81% is a tremendous hit rate, but it also requires that you take all the trades given. So if I take a 3-month window and let's say there are 100 trades, I will get 81% if I've taken 100 trades. But if I start becoming selective and I take 20 trades out of 100, then it may be just 8% because you may end up selecting all the wrong ones which hit the stops. So there is a certain discipline, there is a certain rule following that is required. So anybody who says my system is 80%, it's 80% if you take all the trades, if you follow all the rules, and if you did it exactly as it is required to be done, meaning flawless execution. If you do all that, then all the hit rates make sense. So otherwise it is just one humbug number. So I say this is 50, it can be 5 or it can be 500, right? So the number is really your number. So you take up a good system, take it from somebody who's reliable, who's been down the road, right? Take that system, make it yours. Don't second guess, right? First develop the ability to follow rules, to do what the system asks you to do. Then later on become more discretionary. Everybody wants to be discretionary because everybody thinks he's a champ at doing this without knowing anything about it. And then they will blame the hit rate. The hit rate is always good because if the hit rate was not good, that system wouldn't survive.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's go on to the next question that we have. Ramesh Iyer has sent us this question. He wants to know under what conditions and circumstances do we take a simple or an exponential moving average?
Well, you see, exponential moving average tracks the stocks closer, right? असल में देखा है तो 19, 20, 18, 20 का ही फर्क है. That's it. So it's a bit of a splitting of hairs if you want to take simple or exponential. Just take one. The key is that you follow the rules. If it is simple, it doesn't matter. Instead of the moving average being at 10 rupees, it will be at 10.5 rupees or at 9.5 rupees. That will be the only difference. So the difference will be some 50 paisa at a 2-digit level and a couple of bucks at a 3-4 digit level. That's not going to make any difference. It's not going to make a significant difference that you need to worry about whether I should be simple or whether it should be exponential. It's just that exponential will be closer. If you don't like it to be closer, then you take simple, which will be a little further away. Now, further away means you are going to take a little more exposure, but it may also protect you in terms of volatility. So it cuts both ways. Now, it's whether you like that cake with egg or without egg. A cake is still a cake, right? So it's just the choice that you make.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Mr. Iyer. Let's take up the next question. Vijay Belekar has sent us this question. How to identify reversal in trend?
Well, I think I gave you 3 methods, all of which will tell you about reversal of trend. Number 1, if the prices break the moving average after having been above it, then the trend is reversed, right? Or from below to above. So the moving average acts as a trend reversal signal. If you have, let's say, the pivot points on, and then you say instead of the daily pivot, you draw a weekly pivot, and you keep an S1 or an S2 as your lower level, which should not break if the stock is in an uptrend. So a pivot is a trend reversal level. An S1 or an S2 can be a trend reversal level for the downside. And similarly, R1, R2 can be a trend reversal to the upside. I also mentioned that breakout strategies are only above R1 or below S1. So breakout is what? Breakout is an onset of a trend. An onset of a trend means it is a reversal of a previous trend. So these R1, S1 levels can also function as a trend reversal signal. And in the case of the SWIFT strategy, I said 60 and 40 levels of RSI can be kept as trend reversal signals. Now you can take that to a little larger time frame and say, okay, I want to look at my investments. And then you say you take up a weekly chart and you say you set 60-40 levels on the weekly chart. And any stock where the RSI goes above 60 level on a weekly RSI, that's a stock where there is a trend reversal to the upside. See, reversal need not exactly mean that it is going from down to up. Reversal can also be from sideways to up. So sideways is also a trend in the sense that the market is not moving anywhere. So reversal, when you talk about it in a technical analysis framework, it means that there is a change in direction. The change in direction can be from side to up or down, or from down to up, and etc. So your 60-40 levels on a daily chart or a weekly chart or even a monthly chart. If you want very, very long-term investment, take a 14-period RSI of a monthly chart, right? And then you look for a monthly 60 level to be crossed. You will certainly get your long-term, let's say, investment grade charts. And anything that you are invested in, if it comes on and breaks the weekly 40 level of RSI, you should definitely take a relook at that investment, because the market is signaling that there is something going wrong here. So you can use this any way. All the three methods which I showed you can be used for trend reversal.
Okay, so all the three methods can be used, and he's also indicated as to how do you identify the reversal in trends as well. Okay, Rassi Master has asked us the next question, wants to know, could you recommend some books which explain these theories, determining pivot levels, climb, trend following systems, etc. in some detail?
Well, Rusi, I don't think there is a devoted book for pivot levels except Secrets of the Pivot Boss. I think that is the name of the book. Pivot Boss for sure. If you, that's the name of the guy who wrote it, and I think it is an author called Ochoa, maybe a Mexican or South American. Ochoa, O-C-H-A-O. Ochoa is the Frank Ochoa, I think is the guy. Pivots are dealt with in extraordinary length in that particular book. Other than that, I don't think there are smaller books which are there, and there are chapters in books which deal with combining pivots with various other things, etc. So if you go into technical analysis literature, you will find that, climb is a name that I have given, right? So he will talk about pivot levels only. And I think if you read Secrets of a Pivot Boss, you should be well sorted. Of course, he covers so many more methods in it. Now, what I have told you is the simple pivot bearing methods, and they're all variants of what I have told you, but it goes to fairly detailed lengths. So that's the book I would recommend for you.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Rassi, and you can go and refer that book. I'm sure that will address all your queries on pivot as well. Sai Prasad has sent us the next question, wants to know which method is more effective for a day trading, also EMA crossover or pivots as well.
Well, I think you see, if you are looking for day trading, then you need three, four things. You need to the stock to signal you that it is ready to move, right? Then you need to know how far it could go, right? Because in day trading, you don't have the luxury of waiting. I think both these questions are answered by the pivots.
Okay.
Because the way I've shown you the range, how to judge which is the down day, which is an up day, which is the trended day up and down, etc., etc. Then each of those are acting as stop loss levels and as target levels. So in day trading, you need to know when the stock is ready to move, R1, S1. Where is the stop loss? Any of those lines are stop loss. Where is the target? Any of those lines are target stops. So you just look upon where you are in the scheme of things with respect to those 4, 5, 6 lines that you will plot on the chart, and then you can take it. Moving averages are very, very good, but they are trend following. So they presuppose or they demand that there should be a trend. So in stocks where the trend is not there or not too strong, then moving average techniques will not work so well. That is why I said that moving average technique works very well on a daily chart, because once the trend is laid on, then there is something to follow. Intraday is a whole lot of noise, and therefore pivots work much better.
Okay, I hope that answers your question as well, Sai, and you can just refer to whatever Dr. Narayan has told you about pivots as well. Let's go again to the next question. Srijit has asked us this question. He wants to know, can the three methods be combined if at all? And if so, then which time frame will it give the best results in?
Do you have a problem of using them by themselves? Right? They all work individually very well. Why do you need to combine them? See, I told you at the start of this particular
Simplicity.
webinar that there is a tendency to complicate. Under this belief that complication actually means better, it is not. It is simplification which is better. And there is nothing more simpler than the ones which are presented, which is why on slide number 1, I put a simple method, a simple method, a simple method. Now you can definitely combine, but please understand that when you take one item or two items or three items and combine them, the number of rules that you will end up creating will be a factor of all these three. So you will have, instead of having one rule or two rules, you will then start to have 9 to 10 rules. Now the stock may meet 3 of these and not meet 6, another will meet 6 but not meet 3, and then where are you? You don't know whether to go or whether to hold, whether it is green signal or it's an amber or it's a red. You will be left with confusion most of the time. So I would suggest that, Srijit, that you clear your mind of this belief or impression that if you combine indicators, it will actually give you a better result. And there is a little bit of danger in this, because if you go down this road, there is a tendency to combine correlated indicators. Now, correlated indicators will tell you the same thing, right? And 3 of the same thing is not really better. If it is 3 different things which are telling you the same output, then it is better. So you have to be very careful what you are combining. Now here we have 3 different things. So there is a possibility to combine. Now I will leave you to it, because it will unnecessarily take you into a zone where you will have to really create lots of rule sets. If you can do that, go for it. If you can work up the kind of discipline that is required to follow the extra rules, go for it. Otherwise, I think independently, they all work very well.
All right, so independent strategies work very well. I think, Srijit, you will first have to determine what kind of a trader are you, just like how Dr. Narayan also pointed out. For each strategy, there's a different kind of time frame that it works best for. So I think identify that first for yourself and then move ahead. Next question is from Amit. He wants to know, how can I learn more about rebound method and test this for better understanding?
Well, rebound method is something that I have created. It's not in any book, but it's self-evident what I've done. I've just taken the reversal to mean aspect of the moving averages, and that is the behavior of prices. There's nothing else, right? There isn't anything complicated about it at all. It's just reversal to the mean. And I have created a couple of rules around it. So you can easily do a back test of this, because in any of the softwares that if you are being able to use any of them. You can do it in any broker, you can do it in Metastock or any of the other softwares that you have. You can just program them with that rule set which I have given you, and then you can do a back test. So when I told you that, there's 81% for the daily time frame, and there is actually 56.5% hit ratio with a win ratio which is at about 2.9. right? And you actually have about 76% hit ratio with the weekly, but a win ratio of about 4.9. So you can devise all this. These are available. This is a method that I have programmed into a software that I have designed. That's called NeoTrader. And this is one of the methods that is included in it. And the statistics that I'm telling you are all from NeoTrader. The pivot-based strategies are also something that I have programmed into NeoTrader. And NeoTrader is something that I designed to have process data so that I don't waste time looking at too many charts, because you got only this much time to decide on the stock, take your position, and then allow it to run so that you can take your money. So you must have scanner softwares, you must have trading softwares, you should have good well-defined methods, because time is one thing which you do not have, particularly if you are of a day trading variety. The longer the period that you engage in the market, the more luxury of time you have. But if you're going to be crunch for time, then something like my NeoTrader or some other scanner software or a good charting software which has some ready-made tools like TradingView, for example, all these are a must, and you must be very clear what you're doing. Otherwise, you will be going all over the place, and this becomes the bane of most traders. They don't really have a clue as to what it is that they are doing in the market, except for a desire for money. They don't really have anything else mapped out. And I think that is the biggest problem. So having a software like NeoTrader, having a charting package like TradingView, and having some background information, background knowledge, which you can get from a training program, if you take all these kind of things, then success is reasonably assured.
All right, okay. Hope that answers your question. Amit, let's move on to our next question. Vimal Kumar has sent us this question. He wants to know, how does one identify the critically poised stocks either for a positional trader or a day trader?
Well, Vimal, this is the role of a scanner. Now, there are scanners built into various technical analysis software. And like I was just explaining to the earlier query, that I also have an analysis-based software, which is not just a scanner, which is way beyond a scanner. Now, these are mandatory if you must identify and keep ready a bunch of stocks before the day starts or the week starts. If you're a positional trader, you should do this exercise on a Saturday, Sunday and keep the stocks ready. Some may fire on Monday, some may fire on Wednesday, or it may fire all the way on Friday. But you must have the stocks ready, and this can be done only through some scans that you run. So you can run moving average based scanners. So typically all scanners are numbers based. So oscillator scanners and moving average scanners are the simplest one. Then you can run scanners on candlestick patterns. You can run scanners on different sets of combinations. So the standard scanners which are available in softwares or on the net typically take only these numbers based stuff. So moving averages and oscillators are in. But if you want to go beyond that, then you have to get specialized scanners. So NeoTrader, which I built, is a specialized scanner because that is what I need. I don't have the time. You got 2,000 stocks, and everyone or any one of them could be a tradable candidate. Like if you take today, for example, Wokhart came out of the blue because of some news, but who knew the news in the morning? But the stock was up at circuit today, it hit 20% up. So you could have caught it somewhere along the way if you had intraday kind of scanners. So there is like I said earlier, unless you have good software for charting, good software for scanning, good background knowledge by way of information, it's very difficult to succeed in the market. Your money will get taken away from you.
Right. I hope that is answered your question as well, Vimal. Let's move on to the next question. Rahul Maheshwari wants to know, in case price action and indicators are indicating opposite signals, which signal should be considered stronger?
Well, it's fairly evident. See, price action is first. Indicator is derived from price action. Okay. Now, you have indicators which are leading, but ultimately it is price action which is 9 points out of 10. Okay. So you must pay a lot of attention to price action. Now, how is price action to be looked at? Candlesticks is one, variants of candlesticks are other, Heikin-Ashi, Renko-Kagi, three-line breaks, all these patterns are price action, right? Simple tools like channels and trend lines and pitchforks, etc. These all define price action, so they also can be done. So price action itself is a complete and fairly detailed area of study within technical analysis. Indicators is a separate branch of study within technical analysis, and both are to be used in a combined manner. But to answer your query, whether price action is acting opposite to the indicator. Now, this will happen only when there is a very swift change. right? There is a sudden input of some news or something, and then the prices really crack. Like you take example of Indigo today. Now Indigo was going very nicely for the past several days and the stock was in a strong uptrend. But suddenly during the day there was this news break that there is some advisory for flights between Bombay and Delhi. Now the Bombay-Delhi sector is the busiest sector in the country, right? So if the busiest sector in the country is going to be affected, then Indigo is going to be affected because Indigo is what 60-70% of the entire traffic. So immediately on the back of this, Indigo took a dive of about 50, 60, 70 points. Now those kind of things cannot be captured by indicators immediately because the price moves first. Indicator then follows later because the indicator is derived from the prices. So when prices move first, go with the price and then keep checking the indicator. So one clue that I'll give you here is to step down in the time frame. Supposing you're looking at your prices on a daily chart, and if you want an indicator signal, then you need to step down. When you want finer details, when you want nuances, then the time frame has to be changed, right? So it's not fixed to one time frame. You need to have a time frame higher and a time frame lower to know the whole story of the technical picture that the stock is building. These are all learned during a good technical analysis program. If you learn it well, then all these things are taught. And that is what you really have to know.
All right, so price action is what you need to first of all keep priority for. Let's take the last question now. We are just running out of time. Ramesh has sent us this question. He wants to know, how do you suggest pyramiding entry for investing in moving average methods?
Ramesh, it was actually quite evident on that chart. Right? We took up what Mahindra, and we said the signal came at about 400, and then the price went all the way till about 600, 625, 650. And if you notice all through that rise, the 30-period moving average was never violated, right? It used to keep going up, come down between the two, take up again. So every time you take a signal, you can do a pyramiding structure. So let's say your whole idea is to buy 1,000 shares, for example. Then with the first signal, you do not know at the start that this is a candidate for pyramiding, right? It's only as it flows that you know that pyramiding is getting possible here. It's like everybody says, tell me a multi-bagger.
Yeah.
The hell anybody knows that some stock is going to be a multi-bagger? Nobody knows. Multi-baggers evolve through the months, through the years. So anybody who's telling you that stock is a multi-bagger is just giving you BS. In the same way, in trading also, in pyramiding, you do not know at the start that this is going to be a pyramidable kind of stock. So, but when the signals remain intact, right? So in our program, we teach something called the wealth builder pattern. Now the wealth builder pattern is something that runs across months and years. And the name has been given because you pyramid so many times that it actually builds you wealth using technical analysis, which is something most people think that is not something you can do. But I showed you that Mahindra example where you got, I think, at least about 4 signals. And across those 4 signals, you had a 200 rupee run. I grant you that you would not have got maybe all the 200 rupees, but certainly you could have got a decent amount of money and never been troubled by anything adverse in terms of price action.
Absolutely. All right, then let's wrap it up at this point in time. Many, many thanks, Dr. Narayan, for this comprehensive and insightful presentation that you shared with us and all our viewers today, and for addressing very patiently all the queries that all our MC Pro users had for you. So for all the viewers, please do share your feedback about MC Pro on Money Control Pro at mw.com and all through our support forums as well. And we'll keep bringing such events for our patrons as well. Many thanks for joining in.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed presenting it. I hope all your members had a good time. Thank you, and hope to see you all sometime in the future again.
Thank you so much.